I am Don Hamilton, and it is my privilege to welcome you to the ministry of Still. Still represents speaking truth in love, and the ministry was born within the context of the global reality that we are all facing. A shift in ideology, a shift in thinking, a shift that demands a response. Persons are confused with their gender identity, and there are those who are imposing their gender ideology, and there is need to speak the truth to power and truth to this ideology. In that context then, in 2022, we hosted a 2 to 3 hour workshop online entitled Speaking the Truth in Love. We are committed to continue the process of educating, empowering, and equipping people for this long-term haul and this long-term battle. With that in mind, we are welcoming you to this 6-part series, speaking to these issues. In part 1, we cover a case of distraction from the real issues. Part 2, a case of absolute allegiance and worship of God. Part 3, a case of gender identity crisis. Part 4, a case of shift in pathology. Part 5, a case of dictatorial tyranny and control. And Part 6, a case of copyright infringement. We want to invite you to sit back, enjoy, engage this series. Feel free to contact us for any question or comment. God richly bless you as we begin this journey together. Welcome to Part 2, a case of absolute allegiance and worship of God. The present global climate of a humanistic ideology is really a challenge to Almighty God. But this is not new. The people of God in Egypt also faced the challenge about the allegiance to God and to worship. In fact, 7 times in the book of Exodus, God said, "Let my people go, that they may serve me, that they may worship me, that they would serve me, that they will hold a feast for me." Satan, on the other hand, he absolutely needs the worship of God's prized possession, man. It's not surprising then in Matthew 4 and verse 9, he says to Jesus, "Fall down and worship me." Then in the book of Revelation 13, take some time and read it over and over. The beast, the false prophet, and the dragon desired worship. They worship the dragon, they worship the beast. They shall worship him, those whose names are not found written in the Lamb's book of life. And then it is clear that power was given to the first beast, that they who dwell on the earth will worship the first beast. They will cause many to worship the image of the beast. Satan desired worship. But I want to report in the final analysis, John the Revelator, he fell down and worshiped at the feet of the angel who gave the revelation in Revelation 22:8. But the angel says, "See thou do this not. Keep the sayings of the book and worship Almighty God." So what is Satan's agenda? Satan's agenda is to lure the people of God into compromise so that they do not worship with all their heart, with all their mind, and with all their soul. Consider these questions that relates to the compromise that Satan offered and the resolve of the people of God to keep worshiping God. We must settle the question of our perception. In Exodus 8, verses 25 to 27, the enemy says, "Yes, worship God, but do it in the land." Moses had spiritual perception. He says, "No, we will not do that because it would be an abomination to the Egyptians and they would stone us." The enemy is constantly seeking to allure the people of God, to entrap them with words. Listen to me, let our spiritual perception be obedience to Almighty God. In Exodus 8:27, we will do what God commands us. 2, we must settle the question of our proximity. In Exodus 8:28, the enemy comes again and says, okay, you can go and worship God, but don't go too very far. That's a lie that has been perpetuated throughout history, that we must stay close to the world, we must stay close to Egypt. Be clear in your mind, people of God. The question of our proximity must be settled. Come out from among them and be separate, says Almighty God. Number 3, there's a question of our posterity, and that is our children. The attack on our children, it's not a new one. So in Exodus 10, verses 7 through to 11, the enemy says again, go, you who are men, to serve God, but let the children stay behind. And Moses was clear in Exodus 10:9 that we will go with our young, we will go with our old, we'll go with our sons, we'll go with our daughters, our parents, our teachers, our pastors. Let's fight for our children. Let's fight for our posterity. We reject the sexualization of our children. We have settled that question. The children, they would go. Then there's a question of our property. Pharaoh comes and says, oh, you can go in Exodus 10:24 to 26, but leave your flock and your herd behind. Billions of dollars are poured into the promoting of certain ideologies that's contaminating the nations of the world. And then they are saying to us, we must leave our flock, our monies behind. Oh, Moses responded in Exodus 10:26, not a hoof would be left behind. Rise up, O people of God. Then there's a question of our peculiarity. We are different. And God says when he brings you out in 11:7, not a dog will wag his tongue, because God will put a difference between the Egyptian and the Israelites. And finally, we must settle the question of our praise. We have come full circle. So at the end, when there was deliverance, listen to Exodus 15:11. Who is like unto our God? He's fearful in praises, glorious in holiness. The Lord shall reign forever and ever.